I'm Jerry Agar in for Ezra Levant today. Canada is seen worldwide as a nation with a well-run economy. Canada's West is seen as a leader within the country. The Premier of Saskatchewan, head of the Saskatchewan Party, is Brad Wall. Welcome, Mr. Premier.
Thanks very much.
So the rise of the West, what has contributed, do you believe, to the West doing so well in Canada?
Well, obviously, there's a lot of natural resources and a lot of attendant strength to that here in Western Canada. And that's a big part of the story. But I think the provinces have been working to diversify on the strength of that natural resource platform in the innovation economy. I think that's providing some momentum as well. And we're relative newcomers to that, to have province status. But obviously, Alberta's been a have province for some time and has been making those longer term investments. I also think what's very important in the West is the fiscal probity that's been the case here over a number of years. We just brought down a balanced budget here in Saskatchewan. I think it's the country's only balanced budget so far. And other Western provinces, of course, are in a good state fiscally, certainly comparable to anywhere else in the country or the world. And fiscal probity, fiscal responsibility has to be at the heart of any successful growth plan. And I also think that's part of the story out West.
I think a lot of governments, often nationally and certainly provincial governments, maybe will give lip service to the idea of getting a balanced budget, and it's always a 5-year plan down the road. It's never today. Why is that?
Well, it's not an easy proposition. We've had a lot of good fortune in the province, so arguably it's been a little bit easier for governments to get to balance than in other places that have some longer-term structural deficits to deal with. But you still have to make difficult choices, even in this current budget year where revenues are still strong. We made a difficult decision to end something called the film tax credit, which is really a grant in the industry. We've made the decision to increase the deductible on a senior's prescription plan, to completely eliminate a regional economic development program. And so you make these tough decisions, but the point being, you need to take these decisions to ensure fiscal responsibility today. That'll allow us to continue to make key investments in infrastructure. It'll allow us to reduce debt in the future and to keep taxes competitive. And that's the virtuous circle that we want. We want to have an economy founded on those principles that's continuing to attract investment so that we can see that growing economy improve quality of life and attract more people. And that's what we're pursuing here in Saskatchewan.
So it sounds like giving the province what they need as opposed to what everybody actually wants the government to give them, needs instead of desires. So is defeating the NDP key to that, do you think?
Well, a couple of things here. I think Saskatchewan people, whether it's an NDP government in place or in this case a Saskatchewan Party government in place, I think they want fiscal probity. They want to make sure the budget is balanced. They want to make sure we're paying off debt and keeping things affordable from a tax perspective. They understand the long-term implications of it. In fact, I think their last campaign in the fall of last year, that was the central ballot question, a comparison between a very high-spending NDP platform and ours, which was rather modest. And they chose, I think, rather dramatically a more modest platform. But here's another point I might make. As enterprise-friendly parties who want growth for their jurisdictions and who campaign on that, I think we don't often enough finish the statement. I don't think we end the sentence. Why do we want to pursue growth? Why do we want fiscal responsibility and conservative economic policies that we know will work to attract investment and create jobs? We want it for the end game, and the end game is a better quality of life. The end result of that is a chance to pay off debt, to invest in infrastructure, to spend more, to reduce the wait times, using private clinics in part, as we are in the province here. We want to support the intellectually disabled in our province, much greater than has been the case. It takes a tax base to do it. That's why we want growth for the province. And I don't think we often enough finish the sentence. And we're working hard to do that in Saskatchewan.
Well, your party, the Saskatchewan Party, is a relatively new party in Canadian history, and now just next door in Alberta, it looks as though the Wildrose Party, an upstart party, so to speak, has a chance at taking over in Alberta. Do you have advice for an upstart political party?
No.
No?
Certainly not one that's contesting a general election. I think we'll stay right out of that. But I will repeat this and make this point again, that if you're going to run, if any political party is going to run on a platform of economic growth and competitive taxes, less debt, balanced budgets to see an economy grow, we need to explain why. We need to explain to the public why it is we're advocating for that. Of course, it's to improve a quality of life. It's to have more jobs. It's to have less debt for our kids to deal with. It's to have money for infrastructure and key social programs to help the most vulnerable among us. These are the objectives that we pursue, and too often we stop at the GDP chart or the tax equations, and we don't get to the real reason as to why we're wanting to pursue these. And I guess if we had any counsel at all, we would offer that. But we're still in the mode of accepting advice rather than giving it.
All right. Well, it can be, to be fair to all politicians, it's a difficult balance because you just mentioned a number of social programs that you believe are important, and I don't think that there's anybody in any political party who just wants to throw the unfortunate to the curb, so to speak. The widows and the orphans, can just survive on the street, or they don't. Nobody takes that attitude, but it's difficult to find the right balance, I think.
Well, and the first thing that we need to do is make sure that we can afford to help in the long term. And the best way to undo or to undermine our ability to help in those very key areas is to run massive deficits, because then one day someone will come along with an independent report and recommend that an entire program that really is there for those who are very vulnerable and they can't help themselves must be eliminated. I think that's what I think that's the point here. It is a balance, but it's even more a matter of sequence. You've got to set the fiscal responsibility piece on a solid ground. You have to balance the budget so that in the midterm and the long term that we can be there for these particular programs, which I think most agree are needed, so that we can also continue to be competitive from a tax perspective, eliminate debt, build the infrastructure, which is part of a growth plan as well. So I think this is a matter of sequence as much as it is a matter of balance.
Mr. Premier, thanks so much.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.